So we're going to look at relationship patterns here, and we're going to bring these to awareness to release the ones that are limiting for us. Not every relationship pattern is bad. There's some that are very useful, but there are some that may have outlived their usefulness. And so we want to browse through them. We want to see which ones resonate, and if they do, why they do, and give ourselves permission to look at alternatives. It's not about gathering ammunition for more judgments about ourselves or others. The basic premise here, anything unresolved with your parents will come up in your relationships. Oh, no, not that again. Well, yeah, it's simply because parents were the first templates for relationships in our life. And I'm going to use the term parents, but they could have been an older brother, it could have been a caretaker, it could have been an aunt and uncle. Yeah, okay, but we'll just use primary caretaker. We'll use the term parents. Did they cause all this misery? Why can't we educate them? No, parents are simply transmitters of cultural belief systems. They were trying to do the best they knew with the tools they had. So this is certainly not about blaming our parents. That's a great place to get stuck and affirm your helplessness. Oh, what could I do with a mother like that? It's like, now, as Reverend Ike said, ain't nothing so bad as a good excuse. So we're not looking for excuses. We're looking for things that get stuck in our psyche and that we have the power to shift.
Jim, does it matter if we know whether that's something we're working through in a present day relationship from our parents, or doesn't it even matter?
The answer is it doesn't matter, but an addendum to that is it can be useful.
Okay.
So in fact, we're going to do an exercise with this in a little while. We're going to do an exercise in this because we're going to see what some of those original patterns were, how they're being duplicated in our current relationships. Every time I teach this course, I do the exercise. I've done this already. No, every time I do it, it go a little deeper, and it's like, oh. So since you established your first relationship with your parents, you tend to recreate their personality types as much as possible in your current relationships. So was parent domineering? Were they passive? Were they sarcastic? You had two parents. The ones that you tended to have the most charge with, the most emotional challenge with, is the one that you will tend to recreate the most in your life. But as I said, this could also be in your younger years a significant brother, sister, grandparent. So you pick the partner who is reminiscent, and then you try to change it. So I pick a spouse or someone to date. And at first, of course, they don't look like that at all. But then, after the veneer wears off, wow, just like my old man, trying to tell me what to do all the time, always picking out my faults, always. Or I can't get anything from them. And they're passive. They're like, hello, yell at me, do something. So as you look at that, as we will, what ways have I selected or projected or actually manipulated my partner to recreate some of the things that went on in my household, in my early life? Often the things that we reject the most, we somehow gravitate towards recreating, because rejecting doesn't solve it. Rejecting doesn't make it go away unless we work through it, to use that expression. And part of working through it is finding out what it resonates with inside of me. So sometimes you'll pick partners alternatively. You'll pick a partner that is reminiscent of your mother's personality style, then your father's personality style. Then we'll go back to mother again. So you can even set up organizations to treat you like you were treated by parents, the boss at work. Oh, I'm not acknowledged for my worth. I'm oppressed by this organization. So it's important to keep breathing as we go through these things, because sometimes you'll just say, yeah, so what? But sometimes you'll say, oh, you know what? Something rings a bell here for me. All right.
Who came up with this?
I acknowledged Sandra Ray in the beginning.
Got
And I think she was a channel for, because she came up with this many years ago, and she hit 7 patterns, and they still resonate. They're still here. So secondly, you tend to recreate the kind of relationship you had with your parent in other relationships. Now that's different than their personality type. They might have been domineering or rejecting or critical or smothering. Or I had one client that I worked with that really taught me a lot, because some of you know me, I tend to try to be acknowledging, I try to be positive about person. And this guy would bristle every time I did this, because he had a parent who manipulated him with positive affirmations. He was smothered with, oh, you're so great at this, and oh, you're so good at that, and you're so wonderful. And it was like, it was used as a way to control him. So anything can be used as a weapon or as a positive tool. So there's the personality type, but then there's also, how are they relating to you? Are they relating in a critical way? Are they relating? You'll tend to recreate the kind of relationship. Are they abandoning? Are they beating? Can be literally or verbally. Are they repressed and distant? So again, anything that has been a template there will tend to get recreated. We tend to do to ourselves what was done to us. And that's not because we're hopelessly neurotic or we're creatures of habit, although we are. I want to jump to the metaphysical here right now, just so we don't put everyone to sleep. I think there's a reason behind all of this. I think our soul contract is to help humanity through being human and experiencing what humans do and how they are on this planet. Go back and read the contract that you came onto this planet with, because a lot of it is about being a human being. And a lot of these patterns aren't because of karma, aren't because you were a real schmuck in a past life or you did something to deserve it. A lot of the patterns that come up are just what we do here to serve one another, because we can work through them. We can work through stuff that our parents did. You know what? Maybe our parents worked through stuff that their parents put on them, and we're the beneficiary of what they worked through. And we've all taken that pledge. We're not going to be like our parents to our children. Oh, we're going to do it different, you know. And I couldn't believe the things that came out of my mouth to my kids. Who said that? My father in the room here? What the things would come, and I would have to catch myself by the collar. I had corporal punishment, which meant I got spankings with a stick. And ooh, when my kids would do something that I would have got a spanking for, there was this urge to do that to them. I don't believe this. I'm an enlightened person. You know, I'm a spiritual. Where is this coming from? I would have to grab myself by the collar, pull myself out of the room, have a talking. It's like, whew, these things go very deeply within us. Well, maybe we can solve that just by not having kids. Well, then guess what? We get married, we have a partner, or we have students. It's like there's ways that it will come out. Very humbling, but also very instructive. Oh, a pet. The way people talk to their pets.
Jim, I have to say this, the way I talk to myself, not
That's it.
having the children or the marriage, whatever it might be, and the messages I repeat to myself where I'm look like, Dad, what?
Right.
No, that's me saying it now.
Exactly. And that's where it finally comes down to.
Because sometimes, at least in my case, for example, and maybe many other cases, both people have the self-realization that the patterns they're holding are of their parents, and they're both actively trying to transform that. But then whenever it comes to like maybe conversation, how do you avoid the oh, you're being like your father, and then not taking that personally?
That's a big trap. Rule number one is talk about yourself. Don't talk about your partner. Okay. Rule number two is that things aren't going to be worked out about who's right and who's wrong. You got to get kicked upstairs, and you got to go to the principle that we're both in love. And doesn't mean you can't say any of these things, but when it's coming from a defensive position, there's no win. If you want to start a fight, just say you're acting like your parent. That's just surefire. And you don't talk about other people's parents either. That's another. It's like so I can talk about my parents this way, but you better not talk about them that way. That's where analysis and this awareness can be used as a weapon. And that just takes you further down the rabbit hole. Okay. You'll tend to copy your parents' relationships to each other. So again, mother talked in one ear, father talked in the other ear, and they never resolved the basic issue. How should kids be treated? What's the best way to spend our money? How much sex should we have? They never resolved that, but it's now like an argument in my head. I'm going on with an inner dialogue, and after a while, it gets very tiring. So I find a partner. And rather than playing the ping pong match in my head, let's give a paddle to my partner. Okay, now you play and then I have that eternal dialogue that went on between my parents, but now I've got a partner. Again, are we hopelessly neurotic? No, there's part of us that is taking something that was unresolved and we're trying to work it out. We have to remember that we're trying to work it out. Once we forget that and we think, no, it's the evil enemy now that's popped up again in my life trying to suppress me. And sometimes your partner may even believe that. I would like to suppress you. I would like you to shut up. I would like you to clean the house once in a while instead of sitting in your filth. I would like you to do the dishes. I would like you, And so their personality may be off on a tangent that was reminiscent of their family. When you come into a relationship, what we don't notice, we see the smiling faces, we see the loving, curvaceous body or handsome, strong men. What we don't see is a coaster wagon that you're dragging along with all the family patterns in it. It's unpacked later on, that's after the honeymoon. And so, yes, we have to continually remember what we're really here for, what we really got together for. We're not here to be the parent I never had. They're here to help me release conflicting patterns in my head, in myself. There was a Russian mystic named Gurdjieff, and he said, in our heart of hearts, each of us wants to take our parents to heaven with us. It means in our deepest self, we all have love that we want to share. We want to have the happy family. Where is the happy family? And that is in our core. But sometimes we're acting out these patterns again. Remember, not because we're determined or hopelessly neurotic. We're trying to work this stuff out. And we're not going to work it out by hitting our head against the wall. If I could just get my life is great. I'm doing well at work. People are loving me in my social club, where we smoke cigars and it's when I come home, all of a sudden now I'm not okay. What's with this? It must be your wife. That's the problem. Must be the husband. He's the one that doesn't see. It's like, well, we save all of the gracious and good part of ourselves to dispense socially, and at work, and our not so attractive parts get let out at home. Oh, I spent all day, having to put on a good front. Now I'm home. I just want to have the can of beer and watch some sports. What's a big deal? What are you on me for? About washing up before dinner or whatever. And so home is a place where we often let down and let the gremlins out. Again, if that's as far as it goes, call the lawyer. Irreconcilable differences. But if we take advantage of that and we go to the love that originally drew us together, we can, if not completely obliterate these gremlins, we can drastically reduce them in size. Ram Dass, many of you know him, spiritual teacher, was asked at a seminar here in Madison, he says, do your monsters ever go away? Have you, Ram Dass, have you gotten rid of your shadow, the monster part of you? He said, no, but now they're like little gremlins gnawing at my ankles rather than these big overpowering figures that were co-opting much of my life energy. That we can shrink them, but don't think that you've missed the boat because patterns still come up. If you discover how to completely obliterate patterns and act that in your life, I want you to see me after class. Figure out how you did that.
Yeah.
Recognizing and pushing them away is a temporary solution. If I haven't worked through them, like Pema Chodron says, whatever you deny or push away will keep coming back until you acknowledge it and work through it. There is a reason for it being there, and it has a treasure in for you. And it will do you the favor of continually coming back until you get the gift.
My little sharing might be something of interest off of Ryan's question. My relationship with my father was a certain dynamic. In the time before he left this physical world, we were able to heal some of our stuff by both of us deciding we would. And in the 25 years since he's left, we've continued to form a more loving relationship because I believe we both wanted that. And so it never stops, in my opinion, it never stops evolving.
That's so beautiful, Andy. So beautiful. You see, relationships never end. What do you mean? I broke up with that schmuck years ago. No, I'm still carrying schmuckiness around inside of me when I think of that so-and-so. And so whatever judgments you have that you've held on to, you're carrying around inside of you. Again, it's doing you the favor of staying there until you break the cycle. till you open the pattern. And I've had that same experience that Andy was talking about with my mother. There's a lot of things I never completely worked out with her before her death. But now, year after year, I still have her picture on my altar. I still connect with her every day. And I'm not selling this belief. I'm not asking you to believe it. Don't believe anything I say, but try it out and see if it fits in your experience. Okay? Because then it's yours. Not like, oh, Jim said it's going to get better once they croak. No, I'm not selling that. I'm just saying that if you keep your heart open and you recognize the relationship is still there, my belief is that there's still mutual support going on, like Andy was alluding to. Okay, stay open to it. Try it out. Try it. You might like it.